Xbox Game Pass Game of the Month Club.
I'm Spencer.
And I'm Mark, that spells Spark.
Your spark of inspiration to explore Game Pass.
Charging sequence at 30%, 50%, Chief, 70%, 90%.
This is Spark Pass.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to this very special edition of Spark Pass. This is the post-Xbox Bethesda Showcase special. What's going on, everybody? My name is Mark, and I am joined, as always, by my partner in crime, my co-host, Spencer. How you doing, buddy?
What's up, man? I'm good. I am running on the end of my energy of coffee for this long day for us, but I'm good, man. I'm good.
Yeah, if you didn't catch the streamed version, we just got done watching the entire Xbox Bethesda Showcase live on stream. You can catch those on twitch.tv/SparkPass. I think we're going to put the VOD of that up, God and everywhere, too. Or at least that was the plan.
We can
do that. So overall, I think the Xbox Bethesda Showcase, my sort of top line view on it was that it was good, but not blow away. It was given the expectations of 2022 is kind of a down year compared especially to last year. Given my expectation level, I thought the show was not great, but good. What's your sort of, before we get into each individual game here, what's sort of your top line on this?
I'm pretty much like of the same boat as that, man. Like, it was good. It wasn't like the most the most mind-blowing show.
There we go.
That was rough. Ever, but it was pretty good. You know, like everything they showed was fairly solid. There's always the few games of like, meh, doesn't do it for me, but that's fine. It's going to be interesting for other people.
Yep.
So overall, I think they had a pretty good show.
Yeah, overall, I think the show was really solid. I think, to me, the surprising things was stuff that and I mean, nobody ever guarantees that any of the rumor mill stuff is going to be in the show, right? Mm-hmm. But like, I was surprised we didn't see Avowed, Contraband, or the rumored GoldenEye remake. Like, I was really surprised that all three of those did not make the show.
I am too, and I'm kind of surprised we didn't see more Hellblade. I thought for sure
Hellblade wasn't in the show either. Yeah,
but we didn't at all. And I mean, maybe it just wasn't. Maybe it's just not at that point, which kind of would surprise me.
Yeah,
like that it's been a while, and we just had like a pretty big trailer not long ago. But
yeah,
maybe it's just not there yet. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know, man. Like, and that could be as well. They could be holding stuff in their back pocket for the Game Awards, too. They do like to reveal stuff at the Game Awards as well.
Yeah, and that's definitely a very good possibility is, you know, let's take some of our titles that maybe aren't either as popular or that might be like a huge, oh my God moment, like the GoldenEye remake. People are going to be hyped as hell for that. And we'll show them at the Game Awards to show, hey, we had our whole own 95-minute show. And by the way, we're at the Game Awards and there's still stuff that we didn't even talk about.
Right. Yeah. So that's kind of my thinking, is that some of that stuff might get held for that event, or they might be like holding some cards back. But overall, I still think the stuff that they showed was really solid. So let's kick it off. I think this was probably, I'm assuming, just based on how you reacted to everything, I'm assuming this is your game of show. They started with Redfall. I think this game looked super great. Everything that I saw about it, I loved it. Spencer, you were way more hyped than I was, so just go.
Yeah, I think Redfall is definitely my biggest game out of everything they showed today. It's kind of got that vibe of Left 4 Dead or Back 4 Blood. Like, you know, you're working with a team to work your way from point A to point B and kill a bunch of enemies, but there's just more to it. Like today they showed some stuff I don't think we had seen before, of like going into an alternate dimension of some kind, which I still don't fully understand, but I'm sure is going to get fleshed out with the game's release. And each character kind of having their own actual class and powers along with them outside of, more guns, or like there's some in Back for Blood, but it seemed like this was gonna be deeper, I guess is a word for it. Like they showed a character who could create basically an elevator out of thin air that shoots a teammate up into the air, so they can either maybe land on a platform or just get an advantage to shoot out of the air. Like as an example of those. But man, this game looks sick, dude. And there's less focus on hordes, it seemed like, which I'm into. And because I feel like a lot of times in Left 4 Dead, there would just be a horde, and my whole goal was just don't stop shooting at any point.
Right.
Just hold the trigger and go back and forth and hit stuff.
Right. This definitely seems more focused on like a handful, and it's not like there's like no enemies around, but it's like a handful of much stronger vampire enemies, which I'm super cool with. There was one of the hero powers that they showed was you get a guy with a little robot friend. He's got a little robot buddy. I'm always into that. I love me some robots. So like that's my main. There we go. We found it. Girl has like the same girl that does the elevator move also has like a spectral shield she can put up that protects the team. There was a guy that had like full on sniper invisibility powers who could just like completely go invisible and then get up to a high perch and snipe stuff.
That's my guy. That's what I'm looking forward to.
That's your main right there. There you go. Overall, I think that's the first time we've seen any Redfall gameplay, and I was like kind of mid on Redfall. This wasn't a game I was particularly excited for, to be completely honest with you. That gameplay trailer completely turned me around. I'm in. I absolutely want to play it.
Yeah, I think like that's kind of where I think a lot of people were. Is the cinematic trailer was kind of like, oh, that looks kind of neat, but everyone immediately went, cool, it's Left 4 Dead with vampires. But now we kind of see that there are some differences there that seem subtle, but are also pretty obviously different. You know, like we said, less hordes, more powers, and things like that for your characters. And it seemed like a little bit more of an actual like fleshed out story was there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not going to be a big story centric or heavily focused game, but it's there.
Right. And the ability to play solo as well, of course, is really nice.
Yeah, saying solo or with friends is really good. I don't know if that means that we'll have, like, the other 3 characters are going to be bots, like it is in those other games, or if it's going to be you're just by yourself in this one. And
I would guess that it would include the bots, because it seems like the levels are kind of built around the strengths of the team, right?
That's kind of what I think, too.
But we'll see.
Which, I mean, it's fine.
Yeah. That's also fine. I don't necessarily have a problem with that. But that was Redfall. I think Redfall looked really great. I'm way more up on Redfall than I was after last year. Like last year, you really all you could go on was like, okay, it's a multiplayer game, but Arcane's making it. How is that gonna? It works. Trust me, it works.
Yeah.
Next up on the list, Hollow Knight Silksong. Still no release date on that fucker, but by God, it's coming to Game Pass.
It exists.
It exists. The fact that it's coming to Game Pass is great. We already know Hollow Knight is godlike. Like, if you haven't played the first game, do it immediately. Silksong's happening. We still don't know when. I feel like we've been beating the drum. I personally have been beating the drum on Hollow Knight Silksong for a long time of like, okay, yep. When can I play it? Please? But it's coming to Game Pass, and that's great.
Yeah, that's definitely, I think, a big one coming to Game Pass for people. And maybe this will be a thing of... is Hollow Knight on Game Pass? I don't know off the top of my head. I assume it is, if this one's coming.
I don't know if it is right now. It certainly has been at some point.
Okay. Well, if it's not, this might be a thing of, hey... try Silksong on Game Pass, and if you dig it, you might go back to the original Hollow Knight.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I think Hollow Knight kind of feels like a game. If you look much into it, you kind of see it, and it's like it could be very much your style, or it could very much be not something you're into. But you don't want to spend money on it. You know what I mean? It's one of those. It felt like one of those of like, I don't know if I want to spend money to try it, but now it's going to be on Game Pass, so you don't have an excuse.
I think you would love Hollow Knight on like at least a world building level, like a visual level and a storytelling level.
Everything about Hollow Knight was pretty cool to me, except I wasn't in love with playing the game.
That's fair.
Um,
You're not huge on like Metroidvania style platformers. That's not really your jam.
It's not really, but also I don't know what it was about Hollow Knight. I just was lost all the time. I had no idea where the hell I was going or how to get there. And I think that's where I was just kind of like, all right, I don't really like this. I'm too lost.
That's the game, man. Like the game of those Metroidvanias a lot of the time is getting lost and then figuring your way out. But if you don't dig that, you don't dig that. That's fair.
Yeah.
Next, High on Life. This was made by one of the creators of Rick and Morty, Justin Roiland, his company, Squanch Games. What the fuck?
Yeah.
What a weird ass looking FPS. It's a first person shooter where basically these weird little alien creatures are your weapons. They're your guns, they're your knives, they're your grenades, what have you. Stylistically pretty, I mean, if you know Rick and Morty style, it's very much on brand, right, for Justin Roiland. A game I'm more intrigued by than actually genuinely excited to play, I think, is where I land on that.
Yeah, like it looks more like one of those of just like, I want to see what the hell is happening in this game.
Yeah.
But I don't really know that I want to play it.
I don't know yet. I mean, we'll see. So that trailer showed like little snippets of gameplay. I would be more interested to see what happens once we actually like see long chunks. And again, it's worth noting we're doing another show on Tuesday, right? We could see longer chunks of these games, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's what I'm almost most interested in right now is there's a whole nother show coming on Tuesday. What are they gonna deep dive into? You know what I mean?
Right. I mean, there's a handful that it seems obvious they're going to, but like, I don't know. We'll see. We'll find out, right? That could be one of them. All right. This is the biggest news story of the day. Riot is putting 4 of their games on Game Pass. Or actually, it's 5, excuse me. League of Legends Wild Rift, Valorant, Legends of Runeterra, and Teamfight Tactics are all coming to Game Pass over the course of the next year. League is going to include all of its champions, both of the League games. Legends of Runeterra will include its entire Foundation pack, so that's its entire base set. Valorant will have all of its operators, and Teamfight Tactics will have some of the little, I forget what they're called, the little fellas, the little cosmetic thing, right? I forget what they're called. Holy fucking shit, that's a gigantic news drop.
Yeah, and you know, I don't think, like, I'm not really into most of those games, but I think this was kind of what blew me away the most of the show. I agree. That is huge for business. Like, how many Game Pass subs is just getting the League heroes gonna sell?
Gigantic.
Or the Valorant heroes.
Yeah.
Because, like, people go into League and it's a free-to-play game and they're like, I don't want to spend a single dime on this game. But, man, that new character looks pretty cool. Oh, well, now I can pay $15 and I get all of it, and I just get to play every other game on Game Pass? Like, okay, we're getting a little bit more interesting and spending money now.
Yep. No, for sure. I think this is a gigantic business move. It's also a move I'm quite excited about because Riot has a fighting game coming soon.
Yeah, that's the other thing I was going to point out is what does this mean for their next game that's coming?
Right. You know, there's no guarantee that they're going to put all of their stuff on Game Pass in perpetuity, right? Like, we saw Destiny come and go from Game Pass, right?
Right.
There's not a guarantee that this is going to be there forever, right? But for the time that it is on there, it's a fucking spectacular deal. And well worth the investment. So I don't have a ton of interest in playing main League of Legends ever again. I've been intrigued by Wild Rift. That's the mobile game. That's sort of like a simplified version of League. I'm intrigued by that a little bit. They've also put that on PC. I think the game of these that I'm probably going to try is Valorant because I just never tried it.
Mm-hmm.
But all of these games are like, feel how you want to feel about Riot. Like, they put a lot of effort into their games. So, like, getting 5 high quality games like that into your service is a gigantic deal.
Yeah, like there's not a whole lot from Riot that I'm like, I hate this. Like, I've never
Right.
had like a huge issue with their games. It's more just kind of been like, I don't really like League of Legends. It's not my thing. But like the world that they've built around that stuff is mind blowing.
Yes.
Like the universe of League of Legends and like Arcane and all that stuff is so freaking cool.
Yeah.
Like I will never play that game, but I will watch the hell out of those shows, like the anime. I'll watch the hell out of all their cinematics all day.
Yep. No,
Yeah, I think just like
completely agree. Yeah.
like just thinking about if you play even 2 of those games, like your Game Pass sub is paid for.
Yep.
And getting all of their characters. I'm assuming you're not getting all of the skins with it.
Oh no,
but you're getting the character.
Right.
And I think that that's like the best of both worlds for people. Well, for businesses. Microsoft, obviously, they're going to make Game Pass money off of this. Riot is probably going to bring people in to get them spending money on skins when they get all the character for free. They'll try a new character and go, this is my favorite character now. Boom. Okay, I'll spend $5 on some skins.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. I think it's a smart business move for all parties involved. It makes me excited about the future of Riot stuff, especially the fighting game, Project L. Please show it to me at EVO. Please, please, please. Thank you. That is all. Next on the list, Plague's Tale Requiem. What this did is made me want to play the first game.
Yeah, this reminded me that I need to play the first game so I can play the second game.
Yes. This trailer looked really good. Basically, it seems like they're going in a bit more of a combat sort of sneaky direction. And also we got a little tease that again, we haven't played the first game. We maybe should play that for the show.
I was gonna say maybe that should be a show game at some point.
we should play
we should
Plague's Tale at some
that.
point. We should do that. We both want to play it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
The little girl that you're protecting, or maybe it's a little boy. I'm not sure.
I think his name's Hugo.
Hugo. Okay, so little boy you're protecting maybe has some control over the plague rats, which is interesting. I think this game looked really cool. I like the sort of stealthy action stuff that they showed. And the idea of using the plague rats as part of your power set, I think is intriguing. So yeah, I think this game looked really good.
Yeah, I think that looks cool. I don't know enough to say like I'm super hyped for it because I still haven't played the first game. So like I could play it and just like it could be a complete miss for me gameplay wise, but I mean it doesn't look like it's gonna be. So
yeah,
I'm interested in it, and I agree we should play the first one for the show at some point.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I don't know what you're doing next month.
Maybe teaser.
Maybe Forza. Holy fuck.
Yeah,
Jesus.
This is. They talked about Motorsport first, right?
Motorsport, yes.
Yeah, that game is just gonna look so ridiculously good.
Oh my god! So they talked a lot about ray tracing. They talked a lot about their new graphics engine. A bit more about a more realistic damage model. They can't go too realistic because they would lose the license for all the cars.
Mm-hmm.
Car manufacturers don't want their cars looking beat up in games for whatever reason. Which I get, but it's upsetting.
Yeah, at the same time, like, I don't think anyone's going to see a beat up car and go, man, I'm not buying that car now because that's what it looks like when you crash it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, cars crash. These things happen.
Like, okay.
But the game itself looks fucking incredible. The big gameplay change that they talked about is their real-time day-night model. Mm-hmm. So basically, as you're racing, the time will change in real time, and with that will come temperature changes, and with that will come different conditions on the track. So just like in a real race, you know, as the sun comes up, the track gets warmer. You're going to need different tire compounds to be able to deal with that different surface, right? So it sounds like pitting is going to become even more important. And again, this is their hardcore mainline, like sim focused group that they're targeting here, right? So that's a gigantic deal for those folks. Additional car customization they talked about. And again, I think for the average person, this will mostly just be a fucking showcase for the power of these new consoles, for the power of the Xbox Series X. This one got a window. I was kind of expecting this one to come out late this year. It looks like it's coming out early next. So if I had to put a guess on it, that seems like a March kind of window to me. Like probably somewhere in that realm, right? So
yeah, that seems like a solid guess, especially with the Horizon DLC being like right around the corner.
Right.
That seems like a fairly good space out between the two, to kind of get you in on both.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And then once you have mainline motorsport out, you can put out the second DLC because they put out 2, right?
Yeah.
The season pass that you buy with the game with the deluxe edition is 2 expansions, right? So it makes sense to go this summer first DLC, and then spring mainline motorsport, and then maybe next summer you see the second Horizon 5 DLC.
Yeah.
I think that makes sense. Forza fans are eating, man. Like we're eating good right now. For Horizon 5 is a great game that's continued to be. I'm finally getting to play more Horizon 5 as I finally get more games off of my plate. And I've been really happy with Horizon 5. It's on the same level as 3 and 4 were for me now, because like whenever I first started playing it, and this is a bit of a tangent, I'm sorry. Whenever I first started playing it, I wasn't playing it as much as I usually had because I just had so many other games in the way. And I was kind of worried that it wouldn't have that long tail. It does. Don't worry. I'm going to play 800 million hours of that game, and I'm super excited about it. But yeah, so that's mainline motorsport. That's coming out sometime in the spring. Super excited about that one. All right. So we both tried Microsoft Flight Simulator, and it's not our bag.
It is not.
We both know this. However, how does the addition of helicopters and, more importantly, the addition of UNSC ships change things for you, Spence?
I don't know. Like, it feels like something I would try again just to say I did it. Like,
sure,
I got to fly the Pelican. Neat.
Yeah.
And then, like, I think the helicopters, if you can learn to fly them, will add a lot of really cool stuff of being able to fly, like, right along side things. Like, they showed giraffes in the trailer, and it's like you can fly, like, closer and around them to see them a lot easier than you can in an airplane. And same, like, following, like, a river or like a creek bed or something like that. You can kind of like get down in those more with helicopters, and I think that could add some cool stuff of just like different ways to try to fly through things like that. But
right.
I feel like at most it would be like I would give it like an afternoon or like a weekend thing, but it's not pulling me in to play this game like regularly by any means.
Sure. And I honestly, I kind of feel like that's kind of the point, right? I feel like they're putting out a bunch of content for this game for you to check in on periodically, right? The hardcore dedicated folks, Flight Sim is probably the only video game they play, right?
Right.
This just appeals to an entirely different audience that isn't even like normal video game folks, right?
Yep.
Like this just appeals to a completely different thing. And I think they keep drip feeding in because they did Top Gun stuff as well when the new Top Gun movie came out. They're just drip feeding in these little additional things of like, hey, come check this game out. Just if you're just a normal video game player, you're not really super interested in the super deep flight sim game, just come visit, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's a smart idea for the game. And I think having Halo ships in there is just common sense. It's just like, yeah, okay, do a Halo thing. There's no reason not to do a Halo tie-in. I think it makes total sense.
Yeah, and I think, it might bring in some people who are going to check it out for longer, but I think that's kind of the thing is just like, let's give people a reason to try this who wouldn't do it before.
Right.
Which makes sense. Smart. I like it.
Yeah. No, it's a smart idea. All right. By the way, the Halo stuff is out today, and the 40th anniversary update is coming later this year.
Yep.
So
Exactly.
That's that. Overwatch 2 is free to play, and we're gonna get early access to it beginning on October 4th. I think Overwatch going free to play is a super smart move. It is the expectation of the FPS genre at this point that you are free to play.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it alleviates a lot of the concerns of the original Overwatch fans of there's not going to be enough here to justify paying for it. Well, now you don't have to, right? I think that alleviates that level of concern for Overwatch fans, at least, of like, hey, at least you don't have to pay money for it up front for what seems like an incremental upgrade to the same game, right?
Yeah, and I think that's kind of was like my biggest thing, even in general. Whenever they announced it, I was like, what are they going to add to this that makes it worth paying for a sequel? But
yeah,
being free to play makes a lot more sense than another $60 game.
Yep. It for sure, it solves a lot of problems. And I'm sure a lot of people will still buy it anyway because they fucking love Overwatch. This franchise is huge. I will definitely give Overwatch 2 a try. I enjoyed what I played of the first one, and knowing that I don't have to put any money down for this one just inclines me more to play this one.
Yeah, and I think, too, the other thing that's nice is, like, this is going to bring in a lot of people who maybe aren't big Overwatch fans or aren't, like, hardcore competitive players. Because I kind of feel like that's what a lot of Overwatch leaned into, was more people who wanted to try really hard at the game and grind and get really good and maybe not play competitively professionally, but be able to play ranked and keep up, or, you know, be really good at the game, where now it's free and I can at least try it and be like, I like this. I'll goof around in it with my friends, where a $60 game where I might go in and just get dunked on all day is kind of a hard sell.
Yeah, I get that. I don't know. Like, maybe Overwatch has leaned that way in the past couple of years, but Overwatch had massive casual appeal the first couple of years of its existence.
Yeah, it did for a long time. And I think it just over time, it kind of feels like it went away from that and kind of moved into more of like a very diehard community. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which I think is just a longevity thing.
Yeah.
You know, casual players are going to jump from FPS game to FPS game if that's the kind of games you're into.
Right.
But I think a free one, it's easier to just download it and play it when like a new character comes out or a new event is happening, and you play it with your friends for a couple weeks or a weekend, and then you go, cool, and just close it and wait for the next patch to run. And you don't have to, you know, worry about, oh, do I want to buy this game? Are enough of my friends going to buy this game to play it?
Yep.
Because that's always my hang up is, are enough of my friends going to buy this damn multiplayer game for me to buy it?
Right. Yeah, so that's not a concern for this game. We also saw a cinematic trailer, like a teaser, basically, for their new hero, which we didn't get a name on, but she was basically just like a junkyard queen kind of gladiator chick. She looks cool. She's got a big axe. She looks tight. I mean, again, and I said this whenever we were live streaming it, man, Blizzard is the king of these cinematic trailers that like get you invested in their new characters or champions or whatever. Like, they are the masters of it. Like, she looks great. She looks really cool. I'm excited to see gameplay of her. Yeah,
and that was I completely agree with you. Like, there's so many Blizzard games that like I don't really want to play. Like, same thing as League of Legends. I don't really want to play a lot of their games, but God, their cinematics are just so good that they always get me excited anyway. Like, they just do such a good job.
Yeah, just absolutely spectacular work hyping up their world and their heroes. So again, that's coming, the early access version coming at the beginning of October. So don't know when the full release is out. But I mean, basically it's going to be open and available for everybody in October. Yeah. So yeah, that's essentially a full release. Next one's kind of a weird one. I don't think we're going to spend too much time on this one. Aura History Untold. So I did a little bit of off-site research because we watched the trailer and we're like, so what's the game? It is a turn-based historical grand strategy game is how they describe it. So we were thinking it might be Civilization-ish. It sounds like it is.
Yeah.
So this is a big strategy game. Day one on Game Pass, on PC mostly. They didn't say it was coming to console, so I'm assuming it's not. These kind of games don't do very well on console. They do very well on PC. This is an important market that you got to hit, and I am glad that they are, and I don't care.
Yeah, dude, I completely agree.
Yeah.
Like, great. I'm super glad that they're getting it for people who are going to play it, but God, I could not care less about these games. Like,
yeah, excellent.
They're one of the most polarizing games to me. Of, if you are not interested in this, you are not going to, it's not going to be that you aren't really having a good time. You're just going to hate playing this game.
Yeah. So that's it for that. If you're into those kind of games, I'm sorry, you're listening to the wrong podcast. I'm sorry. I'm sure it's going to be fine. I'm sure it's going to be good.
Like, those games, like, usually that people are into end up being good for the people who are into them.
Yeah.
It's just, they're one of those types of games that it doesn't feel like you're casually into it. You either love it or you're just 100% out.
Yeah. And,
you know, unfortunately, we are both as far out as possible.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems that way. I'm just going to go over these two really briefly. Elder Scrolls Online High Tide and Fallout 76 The Pit. These are both expansions. High Tide, or High Isle, excuse me. Elder Scrolls High Isle, excuse me. I got the name wrong. That's coming out this month, June 21st, and Fallout 76 The Pit is coming out in September. These are expansions for MMOs that we both don't play. I'm glad they're still working on them. That's about what I got.
Yeah, same.
Sick. Moving on. The Horizon 5 DLC. So I already talked about this, basically. It's Hot Wheels. Hell yeah. The Hot Wheels expansion for Forza Horizon 3 was their best expansion that they've ever done, in my opinion. And that is, unfortunately, no longer available for purchase because Horizon 3 is out of print. Their licenses ran out, so you can't buy it anymore, which is a huge shame. So they did it again, but better. Which I'm very excited about. The only downside of the Hot Wheels DLC was that you were stuck on the Hot Wheels tracks. It looks like they've opened it up to where it's Hot Wheels tracks plus open world rather than being just Hot Wheels tracks, right? This looks dope. I'm very excited about it. It's coming out in July. There's almost a part of me that wants to make this a full episode of the show. I know that's probably extreme, but goddamn, I'm excited.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool. I don't think I'm as excited for it as you are, but it looks pretty cool. Like, I don't know, big Hot Wheel I get to drive sounds sick.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, that alone just sounds fun.
I get that people might be disappointed that they're not doing something new, but considering you can't buy Horizon 3's DLC anymore, I get it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's coming out in July. Super excited about that. I know what's going to be taking up a lot of my time. I am so fucking glad they only spent like a minute on Arc 2.
Oh God, dude, me too.
Thank Jesus that we only had to watch a 1-minute cinematic teaser, and it looks like it's coming out in 2023. Cool.
Yeah, I don't need anything more than that. I don't care.
Yeah, that's cool. I was deathly afraid that they were going to waste like 10 minutes of the show on Arc 2, and they just got a trailer out, got it out of the way. Great.
Yep.
Awesome. Scorn has a release date. It's coming out October 21st. It's goopy. It's a very goopy, gross first-person horror puzzle game. From the gameplay that I've seen, it's kind of puzzly.
Yep.
You get one horror game a year out of me, Spencer, and I have a feeling this is going to be your one.
I don't know, because it doesn't come out until mid-October. So we have to have,
we
horror game.
We don't put out the episode until the middle of... Yeah, it would be the November episode, yeah.
Yeah, which would miss the Halloween date.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, listen, if I can dodge playing this game, I will. Like, I will let you come up with whatever excuse you want. That's fine. It looks really cool for folks that are into this genre. It's goopy. It's very, it's like it feels moist to me.
Yeah.
And it's
Why
gross.
is the game so wet?
Why is the game so wet when there's no water? I don't like it. It looks spectacularly creepy, and this game's been coming for a long time, and I'm glad they have a release date locked in.
Yeah. I don't know. I just don't know enough about it, other than that it looks wet and gross.
They've put out
there's still a lot of questions about like the story of this game.
They've put out a ton of gameplay videos recently.
Yeah, but I don't feel like a lot of them are telling me much story. It's just you got gross stuff you shoot. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's the draw.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, this weird like H.R. Geiger art style, I feel like is the draw of the game.
Yeah,
like if you are into this gross art style, that's the game for you, right? But I'm glad that horror fans are kind of feasting right now. It has been a good year for horror releases. It seems like just in terms of announcements, y'all are getting a ton of stuff. So that's super cool. I'm glad it's finally dated and we know that it's coming and it's coming out, right?
Yeah, I think that's my favorite part is that we actually have a release date on the thing.
Right.
Like, I feel like this game's been in development and shown at like a lot of these showcases forever.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Definitely glad it's getting a release date. Next up, Flintlock: The Siege of Dawn. This is a third-person action RPG. And it looks like the combat looked really intriguing. You've got like these little warp points that you can warp onto. You got an axe and a shotgun, and it's an action game. You go in and you fuck shit up. This looked really intriguing to me. I want to see full gameplay of it before I pass any sort of judgment, but this one is on my radar, I think.
Yeah, I kind of am on the same boat. Like, this game looks really interesting, but I definitely want to see some more actual, like, for sure this is gameplay.
Well, I think that was gameplay.
Decision.
Yeah, I think that was gameplay, but it's cut up and chopped up in a trailer, right?
Exactly. I just want to see like from beginning to end is you start at point A and you play to point B kind of thing.
Yeah.
Versus 2 seconds of combat here, 1 second of walking here, and like jumping around as much. Because it kind of gives you like a little bit of a taste, but I want to have like a really good idea of it.
Yeah, for sure. This is coming early 2023. It's a day one Game Pass game. I'm definitely, it's on my radar. If I see full gameplay of it later, I'll definitely be one that I check out.
Yeah, it looks cool. I definitely want to play it.
Like, stylistically, I think it's really neat. Minecraft Legends. So this is really interesting. Mojang coming out with a new game. They're calling it an action strategy game. So I don't 100% know. We were kind of mixed while we were watching the announcement trailer of like, well, is this a RTS or is it an action game? Is it an RPG? Is it a little bit of all three? Like, this is definitely one that, like, I'm glad that there's more Minecraft stuff. Like, I enjoyed Dungeons for what it was a couple of years ago when that came out. And I'm glad that they're continuing to explore the space around Minecraft that isn't just Minecraft. But again, this is another one that, like, I'm going to need to see full gameplay before I feel like I know what I'm looking at.
Yeah, like, because you kind of said it there of my confusion of, okay, well, what is the actual game? Like, is it an action game? Is it just going to be an RTS game? Like, what is it?
Yeah,
I think that's my biggest holdup.
It almost feels like it's like from the tiny bit, because at the end of the reveal trailer, there is a tiny bit of gameplay. It almost seems that's like you're in third person action mode, but you're also commanding troops. So in that way, it almost seems like if you've ever played the stage battles in Brutal Legend, it kind of reminded me of that, weirdly enough. Of all the things for it to remind me of. Because that's the only game I can really think of that really combines like RTS-y elements into an action game. I'm really curious to see what it is. Because again, I enjoyed Minecraft Dungeons as like a light version of Diablo. As I enjoyed it for what it was. I'm really curious to see what this is. So that one's coming in 2023. That's certainly one we'll see more of probably at next year's show or somewhere later on down the line.
Yeah, probably.
All right, next up, we go into our indie block. So I'm probably not going to go as heavy on these, but just brief thoughts. Lightyear Frontier, the big robot game with farming.
It looks kind of neat, I guess.
Yeah, all right.
It doesn't really strike me as a game that I'm super into, like these like resource games or like like building a farm and life sim games. All that kind of stuff just doesn't really pull me in that much.
Yeah,
looks kind of cool. You can play it with friends though, and I'm interested in what the like mystery and other thing that they kind of alluded to is.
Yeah.
That could be a major difference if I'm into it or not, but mostly me.
Yeah, same. Gunfire Reborn, this is another one that I'm pretty meh on. So this is a roguelike, by the way, which I did not know from the trailer. It's a shooter roguelike, cute sort of animal characters. Apparently some of our friends have played this. I've never touched it. It's coming out in October for Xbox. Cool. Meh.
Yeah, I'm mostly excited that it's coming to Game Pass just because I can try it. Like,
yeah,
I've seen some people play it, and like the roguelite shooter thing seems kind of fun with friends, but for me, it was never a game that I wanted to pay for.
Yeah,
like, I didn't want to spend $20 on it, as bad as that sounds. But like, again, it's a multiplayer game of how long are my friends going to keep playing this?
Right.
It could be they've been into it for a year and I finally get into it and they're like, great, this is the last time we played it because we've been playing it for so long and I'm just late to the party.
Yeah. I think the highlight of this indie block, I'm just moving on from Gunfire Reborn because I have absolutely no thoughts on it.
That's fine.
I think the highlight of this indie block for me anyway, and I think it will be for you as well, The Last Case of Benedict Fox.
Yeah, dude, this game looks cool.
That game looks fucking awesome. So it's a 2D side scroller, which is my jam. And it almost seems like less like action oriented. It almost kind of gave me an old like Prince of Persia vibe or like an Out of This World vibe. Where you're in that 2D perspective and you're just sort of running away from traps and trying to get through this world. And it also has a big time horror aesthetic that I knew you were super into.
Yeah, I'm kind of like, it looks like it's just enough horror to like scratch that itch for people that are into it, but also not so much that it's a turnoff for people who maybe don't like horror games. And it would be more of like I didn't like that creepy moment, but the rest of the game is fine versus like this whole game is terrifying.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. So we'll see. That one's coming out spring 2023. It's day one on Game Pass. That one's for sure on my radar. I absolutely want to see more of that game. Yeah,
I'm into it.
Sure. That to me, I think was the highlight of our indie block here.
Yeah, I agree.
Then we go to kind of a confusing one. As Dusk Falls, I really don't know how I feel about this one, other than I don't feel great about it.
Yeah. I don't think I'm into it.
So they presented it as an interactive drama that you can play with up to 8 of your friends, which is cool. I like that it's like a decision-based...
I am into that part.
Yeah, that it's like a decision-based game that you can play with your friends. But it has this sort of like rotoscope look that is interesting visually, but like my worry is like these decision-based games, like we've played a ton of them, we've talked about a lot of them, like all the Telltale games and whatnot. Those games at least have like a modicum of gameplay in between the choices. I'm worried about this having just the choices.
Yeah, and that's kind of what it feels like it's gonna be. It looks more like and they even call it this, like an interactive experience through video games, but to me that feels more like I'm gonna press A or B to decide which direction I want to go, and then I'm gonna set the controller down for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Which
I don't know, man.
Is fine. Maybe like if you're not super into games and you want to try to like get into something that's a little bit more interactive than just like watching a movie. But I don't know. It just didn't look like there's enough there to really like pull me into a game. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like I would rather watch that as like a short film or like a series of short films on
Yeah.
like Netflix or something.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. So that comes out next month, July 19th. It's a day one Game Pass game. So we'll see on it. I'm hoping that it ends up playing better than it looks. But right now, based on that trailer, I'm kind of out on it.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna wait until like actual reviews, I guess, of it come out. You know, of people saying there's more gameplay here than we thought, or you know, you spend an hour playing the game and you touch your controller twice, and that's my concern. Is it just seems like there's not enough actual game happening there.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of my worry too. Is there's just not going to be enough there, you know, and hopefully the writing is really good. You know, obviously games like that sort of live and die on their writing. So
yeah,
if the writing is really good, then I can kind of give it a pass. Naraka Blade Point. So this is a PC game that is coming to console with crossplay and a new campaign. So this is a sort of samurai battle royale game. It's a game I've seen before, but I've never played. And it's coming to console, and it's gonna have a campaign, which is pretty cool. I love this game aesthetically. I'm curious about actually playing it. We'll see. This comes out in like a week, so you know you're gonna get my thoughts on it pretty swiftly here soon.
Yeah. I don't know. I'd like to check out the campaign, but the battle royale aspect isn't interesting to me.
Yeah, that's fair.
But the campaign could be cool.
So this next one I think is really interesting. I think this is a game that does not trailer well, but will probably play a lot better than it shows off in a trailer. This game is called Pentiment. It is, quote, a narrative crime story set in 16th century Bavaria. So this has this sort of really cool, almost like Middle Ages-y art style. And it seems mostly to be a game about walking around and talking to people and trying to figure out this mystery, right?
Mm-hmm.
To me, this felt underwhelming as a trailer. I feel like this is going to be a game that plays way better than it comes out as a trailer.
Yeah. You kind of said it during the show of just like, it's hard to make a trailer about a game like that, especially using gameplay in it.
Right.
And like, I feel like you don't want to make like this overly cinematic trailer and then the gameplay jumps to that kind of gameplay, because then it's like, well, these aren't even remotely the same thing.
Right.
And then people are kind of going to feel either like lied to or misled or whatever, you know? But like, there's no voice acting. So the whole thing, all the dialogue is based on text. So, you know, it's kind of hard to make a like super engaging trailer with that, other than like, here's some music and I hope you like the art.
Yeah. Which I can see the art style being divisive. I like it. I think it's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
But I can see the art style being a bit divisive.
I thought the art style looked pretty cool.
Yeah.
But it felt like I worry about the gameplay itself, but I'm also not somebody who's like in love with games that are mostly just going around and talking.
Right. Yeah, I get that.
But,
I mean, this is being made by Obsidian, so like it's a good studio pedigree behind it, right?
Yeah.
Like that is an exceptionally good studio. This is a small project that they're working on there. And everything that I've heard in the rumor mill about this game is that the writing is really the focus. Mm-hmm. So this again feels like a game we'll see when it comes out, or we'll see whenever we get more sort of an in-depth look at it. This definitely feels like a game that will underwhelm initially, and then whenever it comes out, like the reviews will be gangbusters. Like I get that vibe off of it, you know? Like it reads to me like a game that like will completely fly under the radar and the mainstream won't play it at all, but the reviewers will be like, it's an 11 out of 10 incredible story, right?
Yeah, I think so too. And I think this is another one of the just like times and scenarios where like this is a perfect Game Pass game.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people like, you know, like we said, I'm very worried about the game just being kind of meh and not having a lot of gameplay other than, talk to all of the people in the town. But I don't have to pay extra money. I can just give it a shot.
Right.
And I'm not out anything, And I think that's my favorite part about these shows is when they show stuff like that where I'm like, I might like that. I might not.
We'll see. Yeah. I think it looks intriguing, and it's on my radar. I'll be curious to see how it goes. Speaking of Obsidian stuff, we're just going to touch on this super briefly, because there's not really much to say. Grounded is leaving early access. It's a full game now. Hooray.
Yay.
That's cool. But I don't really have much else to say other than that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Ereban Shadow Legacy. So this is a 2023 day one Game Pass game. It looks like a stealth game where you play this little ninja girl and she has to stay out of the light of these robots and fuck these robots up. I like stealth games. Stealth games are cool. We need more of them. The world desperately misses the likes of Splinter Cell, or like a Tenchu, and this definitely seems to be sort of in that like Tenchu vibe. I think this game looks neat. I'm excited to try it out.
Yeah, it does look pretty cool. I like the style of it is kind of what brings me in. Like the main character looked really freaking cool.
Yep. I think that game looks sick, and I'm excited to see more of it. I also think the robot designs are tight, and I'm a big fan of cool robot designs. I feel like this one we might get a bit divided on. Diablo 4. So the main part of what they showed of Diablo 4 was unveiling their last character class, which was the Necromancer.
Yeah.
Which they called a new class, which is weird because it was in Diablo 3, but whatever. I'm not gonna...
So,
whatever.
I thought about this a little bit. Is it maybe that this class is gonna be base part of the game?
Yeah, that must be what they're saying. It was in the expansion.
Wasn't the Necromancer in an expansion in Diablo 3? Was it in an expansion or was it a separate purchase?
It was an expansion.
Okay. I don't know why I felt like it was a separate purchase entirely.
Well, they bundled it all together eventually to where that's the only version you can buy now.
Right, but like if you bought the expansions as they came out.
Well, I think there was only that one big one.
That's why I was trying to remember, because I feel like I didn't have the Necromancer in Diablo 3, but I had the DLC, or like the expansion.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm pretty sure they came together. Anyway.
Either way, my thought is this is core in the game.
Yeah. That's the only thing. We definitely got faked out by this trailer, because like it did not read like a big, epic. We got super faked out by it. It didn't read like a big epic Blizzard trailer. Like, it was very different in style from what they normally do for their trailers.
Yeah.
I thought was interesting.
At the beginning, you even said, oh, look, it's Diablo 4. And then at one point went, this isn't Diablo. And then we went, wait, this is Diablo. Like, it was very much a back and forth of, well, what is it? Is it not?
Well,
what's going on here?
I saw the Necromancer girl, and I recognized the art style of her armor right away. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's Diablo. Yep.
Yeah,
okay,
I recognized, like, the scythe immediately.
Yeah. But yeah, we both were kind of like, is this Diablo? Yeah, it's Diablo. Okay, cool. Yeah, so I think, the fact that we have all of the 5 character classes from the base game or the 4 base classes and the expansion guy from Diablo 3, great, that's cool. They did show some gameplay. I feel like this is where we're going to get a bit divided. They talked about this system where if you're doing exceptionally well in the sort of free open world, because that's the big change for Diablo 4, is that rather than loading into individual servers to play with your friends, it's just one big open environment. Very similar to what they did for Diablo Immortal, which just came out. Same sort of idea. They talked about this system where if you're just absolutely kicking ass in the world, you basically get a bounty put on you, and other players can come after you, which I know you're big negative, not into, hate that shit at all times.
Yeah, but now I'm like really confused by this, because so during the show we had a technical problem where Mark's internet went out, and I was kind of like trying to fix the scenes on OBS at the same time as trying to watch the Diablo announcement. And I felt like that was just like core part of the game. But afterwards, when we were talking about the show, you guys were telling me, you and chat were telling me that this is only part of PvP.
That's the thing. I'm not 100% sure. That's how PvP and PvE have been completely separate experiences in Diablo previously, right? They're completely walled off from each other. And it's hard for me to imagine that, yes, they're doing this whole big, everybody's combined in one place thing. It's kind of hard for me to imagine that they wouldn't give you the option to not participate in that. Or at bare minimum, I mean, I don't think it's an always online game. I would think you'd be able to play that offline solo. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, because
we'll see
that's
once we
kind
know
of
more.
that's the deciding factor for me on how I feel about that. If it is something where like you don't ever have to be part of that kind of thing happening, like if I can just do what I've done in Diablo 2 and Diablo 3 and hop in with like you or like maybe a couple people and we just play the story together and do dungeons or whatever, sweet, super still into it. But if it's like, hey, this game is always 100% online with every other person who's playing this game, and you could have people just coming up and murdering you while you're just trying to do the story content, I'm a little less interested.
Yeah. I mean, and this is the same
my jam.
Yeah, this is the same debate we had about Sea of Thieves years ago, right? And you sort of come around on Sea of Thieves, I think.
I think, and this might, I don't know, I feel like the last time we tried to jump into Sea of Thieves, there was like a couple huge streamers that were playing it. So like everyone and their brother was like, it's the new game, we gotta play it. And that always brings in all of the assholes. Where like the last few times we played it, we've barely encountered other people.
Right.
And if that's the case, that's fine. If it's like, it could happen once in a blue moon, that's fine. But if it's like, I spend most of the game getting griefed and not getting to play the game, I have no fucking interest in that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have time for that shit.
Yeah. We'll see what happens. I'm definitely curious to see more. And again, like you said, I was having internet problems at that point. So
yeah, I think I'll have to just go back and like rewatch that part of the show to kind of actually hear and understand exactly what they were talking about and how they were explaining it. Because that was the biggest thing that I was confused on.
Yeah, we'll see.
But like, if that's not the case, then it's going to be what it has usually been. Of I can just play the game with or without PvP. Yeah, cool. I'm in. Diablo's fun. I like Diablo.
Yeah. Diablo's super fun. Also, hot take of the day, I get that Diablo Immortal's monetization is awful, but the game is not as bad as people are making it out to be. Anyway, I'll just leave that hot take on the floor and let it sizzle.
I still haven't tried it, so.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's Diablo. It's just on your phone. It's a fun game. The monetization is gross. I get it. But anyway, Sea of Thieves, Season 7 update. You're going to be able to buy, name, and captain your own ship. This is tight. You can customize the cabin. You can put a nameplate on your ship, and it's yours. That's very cool.
Yeah. I'm hyped for that alone. Like, that was so cool. Of just, like, even just being able to name my ship. I was like, sweet. I can name my ship something stupid. I'm in.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. I'm super into it. I think it's great. It's just another thing that, like, it's another reward for its base gameplay loop of, like, get a bunch of money by working for these trading houses. And now your reward is you get a ship all of your own that you can completely customize. And I think that's tight. I have been super into playing Sea of Thieves lately. We hit it up about once a month on our streams, and it's easily my favorite stream of the month every month. I love that game. Sea of Thieves is so great. I'm so glad that I'm going to get to play it more because we didn't get an Everwild announcement. It's fine. I expected it. I expected Everwild to not be at this show. Am I sad? Yes. Did I expect it? Also, yes. So it's fine. Oh, we just got more time to play more Sea of Thieves content. That's fine by me.
Yeah.
Do you have any words to say about Ravenlock whatsoever?
I missed the entire thing trying to deal with the OBS stuff.
Me too. Sick.
So I missed
Moving on.
literally all of it, unfortunately. So
Yeah.
sorry, guys.
No, we're not. We're just not going to talk about that game.
Yeah, I just don't know what to say.
Yeah, we got back to it with Cocoon. So this is the studio behind Limbo. And it's very different than anything they've ever made before. It looks really cool.
Yeah.
So basically, I mean, you know what? I'm just gonna sit here and watch the trailer right now while we're doing this. You almost sort of like get into these little like orb platforms, and you like jump between them. It's hard to explain. This game's really hard to explain.
Yeah, I think I just maybe don't really know quite enough yet. Like, it looks very like you're doing a lot of puzzles in the world where you have to interact and move things around to activate and do different things.
Yeah, basically you carry around these big orbs and then you put them in positions on certain platforms, and then once you do that, you can jump almost from world to world, it seems like. And the game is really sort of built around carrying these orbs around and putting them in certain locations. And the art style is extremely different than anything the studio's ever done before. You remember, this is Limbo and Inside.
This is way different.
Way different than anything they've ever done before. This almost has like a very bright alien aesthetic versus everything else they've ever done before, which is very black and white, dark shadows, very grim looking dark games, right? This is exceptionally bright, exceptionally colorful. I'm sure it will still have that dark undercurrent that that their games are known for.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, that looks really interesting, and knowing the development pedigree behind it, it's a day one buy for me. Like, you could tell me the folks that are making Limbo and Inside are making fucking Cooking Mama 7, and I would probably buy it. Like, those games are incredible. I'm 100% in.
Yeah, I'll check it out for sure. I'm curious to see more about like what's actually kind of going on with it, but like it looks pretty interesting. It looks different from them, so I'm curious to see them do something different.
Yeah.
More than anything.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely glad to see them stretching their legs a little bit and trying out something new.
Me too.
This next one, I really like the idea of it conceptually, but we saw basically no gameplay, so I'm holding my feelings back a little bit. Wolong Fallen Dynasty. So this is made by Team Ninja. It's coming out in early 2023, and it's a day one Game Pass game. Koei Tecmo and Team Ninja have a very big lineage and history on Xbox. You know, the Ninja Gaiden games just got re-released on Game Pass this week. So you can see some of that lineage that they have on Xbox systems in real time. Game looks really interesting. It's got this sort of like mystical Chinese aesthetic that it's going for. We don't really, again, we assume, knowing that it's Team Ninja, you can pretty safely assume that it's some sort of fast-paced frenetic action game. But other than that, we didn't see any actual gameplay. So that's something we'll probably see further down the line. I'm glad that they're targeting this studio. I think this studio, given its history on Xbox, makes a lot of sense to try to target both the Western and Eastern audiences with.
Yeah, I'm very much holding out my thoughts until I see gameplay, but I mean, the history between the team and Xbox here is like, it's perfect to bring that kind of stuff over, like exactly like you're saying, to introduce people to them, maybe probably not for the first time, but to what they can do outside of maybe the few things they've seen in the past.
Yeah, so that developer's main two games are Nioh, which is sort of their Dark Souls take, and Ninja Gaiden, which is sort of their more traditional action game take, right?
Yeah.
Curious to see where Wolong falls in that dichotomy. But I like Team Ninja's games a lot. I have liked more of their games than I've disliked, so definitely excited for this one. We'll see once actual gameplay comes out.
Yeah, that's kind of my biggest interest, is where is it going to be on that scale? Is this going to be another game that's kind of Souls-like, where it's, you fight one big enemy at a time, but they can just hit you one time and you're completely screwed? Or is it going to be very action fast, beat 'em up almost feel to it?
Yeah.
Like that's my biggest holdout is gameplay and seeing what kind of game we're getting into here.
Sure. Yeah. And we'll see. And I'm excited to give it a go. We'll see what happens whenever they put out full gameplay of it. Next up, this is, speaking of Japanese developers and Japanese made stuff, this is probably the thing that people have asked for the most, and they delivered. Persona 3, Persona 4, Persona 5, all coming to Game Pass. Only Persona 5 has a release date for now. Persona 5 Royal. We're getting the extra holy shit editions, by the way. We're getting portable, golden, and royal. That have everything. So we're not getting incomplete ports. We're getting the full experience. Persona 5 coming October 21st. The Persona games are great. They're not super my bag. You would think, considering how much I love Japanese developed stuff, I would be super into Persona. I just never have been. But this is a great excuse to play all of them. So see you in 800 hours.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Jeez, man. Some long games.
Long ass games. Persona's great.
Man. There's a lot of people that have wanted this for a really long time. And the only game out of them that I've tried is Persona 5, and it was pretty cool. I love the idea of it, and for the most part enjoyed it. It was just so long. I just kind of teetered off of my interest. But either for people who maybe moved over from PS2 back in the day that played the old games to still wanting to play 5 and just haven't been able to, or have never got to play the games at all, but either watched a lot of people play it or just think it looks super, super interesting. I'm glad they're coming to Xbox, and especially going to be on Game Pass.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. And this is another gigantic, big franchise get for modern fans of Japanese-made games. They got Yakuza last year, and now they've got this. They're making inroads and getting that, section of the game world locked into Game Pass.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the thing is, a lot of people always say that that's the biggest lacking in Xbox is Japanese-made games or JRPGs in general. And that's kind of their complaint or reason to not buy an Xbox. And it's well, that's not going to happen overnight. They're not just going to wake up one day and be here's 15 JRPGs. It's something that they kind of have to build out over time. And it feels like they're really, really working on that and getting there now. You know what I mean?
I completely agree. Yeah. Between getting a lot of Final Fantasy stuff on there over the last year, Dragon Quest 11, which I just started playing this week, by the way. And let's see, what else have they put on there? All the Yakuza games, a bunch of stuff, right? They've put a ton of effort into finding, JRPG. Eiyuden Chronicles that's coming next year is another great example. And that one's a brand new game. That one's not even just a port, right?
Yeah.
Bunch of stuff that they've worked on trying to bring to the ecosystem, and this is just another one that's just a home run swing. Great job. People have requested this for a long time. They got it. Awesome. Great job.
Yeah, exactly.
Next up, speaking of Japanese made stuff, this one, Hideo Kojima's making a game with Xbox. I don't even really know what else to say.
Well, I mean, there's nothing else to say. That's all they said.
That's all they said.
All they said was he was excited about the cloud gaming that Xbox has been doing, and it gives him the opportunity to do something that's never been done before. And that was the end of the announcement.
Yep.
So
Kojima's working on something. We'll see you in 2028, pal.
Yeah. This game, there's no telling what it's going to be, how long it's going to take to come out.
Yeah. What disasters will befall us in the meantime?
Yeah,
the only thing we can safely say is that it's not going to be related to Death Stranding, because Death Stranding is owned by Sony.
Yeah.
Other than that, Kojima's making something, so we'll see what the hell cooks up in that whacked out fuckhead's brain.
Yeah, good God, man. He makes some cool stuff, but all of it is just what
The fuck is this? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's very much like my brain cannot comprehend what the hell this is.
Yeah, he's playing 8D chess with
Yeah.
everybody right now.
And it's always one of those things of like, when I finally feel like I understand what's happening in the game or the universe that he's talking about, something else happens, and I'm just like, what the fuck, man? Like, I'm not saying these are bad things at all. It's just always like, this is very, very out there stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. And that led into our final announcement of the day, a big, long, meaty chunk of Starfield. They went probably about 15, 20 minutes deep on Starfield, somewhere in that realm.
It was about 15-ish minutes, yeah.
They did a lot. There was a lot of Starfield here. So we saw gameplay, a little preview of the story and the factions that you're going to be working both for and against. Character customization and ship crafting, and space battles, which they hadn't really talked about before. Space battles being a thing. I think there was a worry that it was just going to be like a hub map that you can click on and you go from planet to planet, right? Not the case. You can fully explore open space. They said there's going to be 1,000 planets in this game, across multiple systems. Lot of stuff going on with this game. To me, my first glance reaction of it is, man, Todd Howard really liked No Man's Sky, because there's a lot of No Man's Sky DNA here. It feels like No Man's Sky and your typical Bethesda RPG kind of had a baby and came together. Yeah. That's 100% the vibe that I got off of this. I've seen a lot of like negative reactions so far. Like, I took a quick look at the Reset Era thread, and they seem pretty down on it. I don't know. I think people mostly just wanted a Bethesda RPG, and it sure looks like a Bethesda RPG. So, like, I think people will like it once they have their hands on it.
Yeah, I kind of feel like there's two different wants that people had here, and one of them was, I just want the same Bethesda RPG that has come out 1,000 times, but this one's in space. And then there was the crowd of people that were like, I want something a little more different, just like a little bit more outside of that. And if you were in that camp, you are not excited about this game at all.
Yeah,
because that's what it is. Like, it's the same thing I was saying. Like, when I play Fallout, I kind of say, I feel like I'm playing Skyrim, but with guns and like a nuclear apocalypse. And then when I play Skyrim, I'm like, I'm playing Fallout with swords and magic and some dragons. Basically, they're the same base idea, just with different, kind of skins over them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, different aesthetics.
Yeah, like different styles and aesthetics to them. And this is another one of those, which is, I mean, I kind of don't feel like I expected anything different. Like, that's kind of what they do. That's what they make. So to really expect like a completely different game kind of doesn't make sense to me. But I can also see being like, okay, it's another one. Like, whatever. I'm kind of burnt out on it if you're not super into those kind of games.
Yeah, I get that. I kind of get a little bit of that disappointment. I thought this looked really solid. I thought that, like, with an extra half year or so of polish and tuning up, I think this will meet a lot of folks' expectations. I mean, it's a Bethesda game. You know what you're getting into. It's going to be a little bit janky. You're going to work with a bunch of factions. You're going to do some resource collecting. You're going to do some, base building has become a big part of what they want to do now. So you're going to do a lot of base building. You're going to have multi-layered conversations with NPCs. You're going to shoot at a thing or hit it with a sword, right? Like,
yeah,
we know what games they make. And this very much feels like another one of those games. And if you're super into those, which a lot of people are, I think it's a grand slam swing. If you're not into that, which I'm kind of not, I was excited about the space combat and the shipbuilding. I think that looks really cool. I'm invested in those two things. That seems really neat. And that gives me the provocation to want to try it as a person who has played multiple of these Bethesda Game Studios games before and know that I don't like them all that much.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was curious about, because you seemed a lot more interested in this than I expected you to be when I watched it and went, it's Fallout in space.
Right.
You seemed a lot more interested in it than I kind of expected. So
I
I'll
think
be curious more than like anything to see kind of your reactions and people that are in the same camp as you reactions of, I usually don't dig these, but maybe this is the one, or maybe adding in the space battles and building my own ship will kind of kickstart that for me, and it'll give me a reason to deal with the stuff I'm not as into.
Right. I mean, I really love space. Like, I'm just gonna keep it real. Like that aesthetic does a lot for me. I think that's doing a lot of the heavy lifting here for me. I really like space stuff. Space stuff is rad. I think other than that, I think the other thing that's cool to me is I was really excited about No Man's Sky, but knowing that it was a more multiplayer focused experience and being more of a survival game sort of took me out.
Yeah.
I am looking forward to a game with that level of exploration and world building that is single player focused.
Yeah.
I think that idea does a lot for me. So seeing that it basically is, what if No Man's Sky and Elder Scrolls or Fallout had a baby? Yeah, okay. I'm on board. I'm willing to give that a go.
Makes sense. That's fair enough.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm meh on it right now. Like, I like Fallout, and I think I always liked Fallout more because it was a shooter versus Skyrim, because it's not a shooter.
Yeah, Skyrim's combat, I'm sorry, this is just an aside. Elder Scrolls combat just feels bad, and I think that's part of the problem for me.
I agree with you entirely, 100%.
Yeah.
But, like, I also just kind of get into those games, and I just get so fucking tired of talking to everyone. Like,
yeah,
I'm just like, I don't care anymore. Shut up. You're giving me so much useless information.
That's the game, man.
And
that's the whole game.
Yeah, but and like, I can kind of deal with it because you don't have to do the side stuff. You can just do the main story and be happy and get everything you need out of the game. You know what I mean?
Right.
The side stuff helps, or it could add some fun stuff, or have like just some crazy fun one-off missions. I kind of wish we just didn't have base building and instead had ship building.
I get that. Like,
having both plus all of the other shit that you have to do in the game just makes it feel tedious. Like, all right, I have to deal with this story. Well, I have to do some side missions to level up. Well, now I have to build a base. Oh, shit, I didn't build my ship. Now I have to build my ship. And it's like, okay, now I have 4 tasks that I have to do. I don't want to do all of them.
Well, I feel like the shipbuilding is going to be one of those things that just sort of happens naturally over time. Like,
they tried to make building the settlements happen naturally over time in Fallout 4, and it was fucking annoying.
Yeah.
I hated it so much. To the point that I just didn't do it.
Well, and that's the thing. If you can just not do it and still get plenty of enjoyment out of the game, that's also fine.
Yeah, as long as you can just not do it and it not be a hindrance, that's fine. But, like, there were, being able to explore apparently 1,000 planets, it feels like there's going to be a lot of times of like, well, I need to have some resource management. All right, well, man, I really wish I had a base right here so I could put it here. And then it's like, okay, so do I have to build a base on like every fucking planet? Like, I do not want to do that at all. Not even a little bit. So
yeah,
I want to see more of what that's going to mean before I decide like I'm super into or super not into the game. Because that's kind of the deciding factor. Because to me, then it goes from a story game to a survival game that I also have to do the story in.
Sure.
And I'm just not into survival games. Like, resource management, making sure your character is fed, and like, I have to build and craft 400 things all the time. Like, just doesn't do it for me.
Yeah, that's fair. I get it. Yeah. So we'll see what the sort of overall consensus ends up being, but I mean, if you were excited about another big, epic scale Bethesda RPG, that is 100% what this is, right?
Yeah,
So,
like you got exactly what you want.
right, exactly. So,
Which isn't a bad thing.
Yeah, they also didn't put a date on it, which I'm not surprised by. Given that they had to move off of the original release date for this game, they are not going to say a word until it's good and ready, right?
Yeah.
So they didn't put a date on it. They just said 2023. I was kind of thinking that this may come out like early 2023, and then Redfall would come later in the year. But I'm kind of thinking the opposite now. I think Redfall looked a lot more ready to go than Starfield did.
Yeah, I think so too. And they're vastly different games.
Yes,
so that kind of makes
exactly.
sense.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so that was the whole Xbox Bethesda showcase. Again, I think kind of more surprising is the stuff that we didn't see, but given that they were focused on what's coming out this year and in the first half of next year, I get it, because honestly, a lot of the stuff that's coming out in the first half of next year or late this year all got pushed around, right?
Mm-hmm.
With the recent delays. So I think overall, as we sat and talked through it, I think my overall vibe check is that it was a good but not great show, a sort of 7 out of 10, a couple of nice moments, nice incremental upgrades. I am excited to see what more they talk about on Tuesday for the show on the 14th. But I don't think it's going to be much more than that. I think they've maybe saved 1 or 2 things for that show. And otherwise, other than that, I think they had a solid little press conference given the circumstances. I'll give them like a 7.
Yeah, I'm pretty much in the same mindset. Like it was pretty good. And I think if it weren't for all of the circumstances surrounding game development and business and everything right now, I would have probably given it a lower score. But like, they still came out swinging pretty hard with all of the, ridiculous circumstances they've had to deal with over the past 2 years.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, having all the Blizzard stuff on their floor and having the Riot deal, which I think is a gigantic deal, I think helped lift the show up a fair bit.
Yeah, I think so.
Overall, good. Solid start. 2023 better be goddamn ridiculous, but this year, solid, decent.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that's kind of the thing to say about all the platforms right now.
Yeah.
You could look at Sony and say, you guys are doing fine, but you're going to have to work hard for next year,
Yeah, that's
the thing.
Is like,
everybody's going to have to kind of knock it out of the park next year, 2 years in a row of meh.
Yeah. Well, last year, Xbox was really good. Like, the back half of Xbox's year last year was ridiculous.
Yeah.
But other than that, yeah, I think it's definitely a step down for Microsoft, and Sony, I think, might end up inching up a little bit once we hear about some of their first party stuff, but we probably won't hear about that until the fall. Whether or not that's even coming,
Mm-hmm.
The $1 million question is, does God of War Ragnarok get pushed for Sony? And if it does, that changes this entire equation of 2022 is just sort of one of those years that's just carried by the third parties, right?
Yeah.
And that's to say nothing about Nintendo, who are actually quietly having a pretty solid year.
Yeah.
But overall, yeah, the business is just sort of in a weird state at this point of this is when the production stoppage in the beginning of 2020 is just now sort of starting to be felt.
Yeah,
right?
I think so.
Because this stuff happens well in advance, right? So we're just now sort of starting to feel the repercussions of the changes of game development on these projects that were sort of in their pre-production or early production phases when the pandemic started. So I think when you keep your expectations there, I think this show was solid. Not spectacular, didn't blow me away, but definitely solid.
Yeah, I agree. Spot on.
All right. So that's going to do it for the Xbox Bethesda showcase. I think overall a decent show. Fairly happy with what we saw. And I hope you guys are happy with this extended look, this sort of deep dive on the here on the podcast feed. We're going to be back next week with our normal episode of Spark Pass, and that's going to be about Bug Snacks. We're talking about Bug Snacks. So that'll be our next episode of the podcast. If you haven't checked out the previous episode that we put out this month, we're doing a big blowout for the month of June. We're putting out an episode every week. Go check out my Tunic audio essay, which I've gotten a lot of really nice response on. Thank you guys so much for the nice emails and messages that I've gotten. Really do appreciate it. This is the first we're trying this new format, and I've gotten a lot of nice messages about it, and I really appreciate that. So we're doing that, and then Spencer's going to be doing one of those at the end of the month about Hellblade, which I'm really excited about as well. So that's what we're doing for the rest of this month. We'll come see you next Monday as we talk about Bug Snacks and do our normal breakdown of everything going on in the world of Game Pass. Thank you guys so much for listening. See you next time.